Myers Metal Detectors, located in sunny Tampa, Florida, where we sell nothing but fun and adventures, treasure hunting gear, and anything you can imagine for metal detecting. Give us a call, 813-237-1939. Happy hunting and dig deeper.
Live from sunny Florida, it's Treasure Talk.
Welcome, folks.
Welcome indeed. You about caught you napping, son.
Yes, I did. I was just falling asleep there, Jeff. As people can see, I'm not in the shop today, and that's because, unfortunately, fortunately for me, not for the termites, I've got it being fumigated today.
Well, you don't know for sure that you have termites, though, do you?
Well, you get some wings, Jeff, in your windows, so there's some termites in there. It had been 20 years since the last fumigation, so it's time to do it.
Well, yeah, it's probably time then for sure.
Yes, so that's why I'm not in the shop. I'm at home. So, folks, it's got a different background, but for the next day or so, I'll be closed, but you can still reach me on the cell phone if you need to.
And get your order placed.
Yes, get your order done. So when I go in there, whatever time they let me in on Wednesday, I'll be in there shipping stuff out for sure.
And yes, indeed. And we had a really good little deal today on something new coming for everybody.
Yes.
Probably be maybe 6 weeks?
Yeah, I would think at the most. Are we going to talk about it now, Jeff?
Sure.
Oh, yeah, we're having some carbon fiber handles made that are a little more heavy duty and robust for the CKG line of scoops that people use. It would be a hair heavier, though that titanium one is crazy light anyway, so I don't think you even notice it. But it'll be more durable scoops, because I had seen a couple handles snapped in the probably 2 or 3 years that I've been selling them, and I think this would eliminate that completely.
Well, from what I understand, it's going to be easily, if you had like an Anderson handle in a stealth scoop, it's going to be the same robustness and stiffness of that. So,
yeah,
let me tell you what, if you can break an Anderson handle, good luck on you.
Yes, for sure. So that's kind of exciting. So that's coming down the pike. And then other things we have is, let's see. Oh, I just got some news from Garrett. And if you're a Garrett C Hunter Mark II, they are going to eventually discontinue that. It's an end of the life discontinuance. Well, I hope I'm supposed to say something about it now, and I'm not. Garrett's not going to call me up and yell at me. But yeah, they'll probably still repair them probably for the next 6 years or so, but they're going to discontinue that detector. I guess they'll come out. Maybe they're coming out with something else. We can only hope. But that is a good unit. It's a pulse induction unit. So like I've always said, and I know Terry had posted a picture, Terry Shannon had posted a picture of a PI unit, a Fisher PI unit, JW Fisher, not the same as metal detectors. And I told him the same thing. Those things are a young man's metal detector, because you're going to dig deep and you're going to dig everything.
Yeah. Well, we did have a question here, Phil. Tom Becker, he wanted to know if it was just a lift handle. No, Tom, we are having specially made for us for the Treasure Talk Pro Sifter Titanium, a special carbon fiber handle.
Yes.
Robust handle. And now the pull handle will still work on it, but it's going to be a lot more robust and stronger. And it'll fit any CKG scoop, but we're having it made for the Pro Sifter Titanium, and it will be called the Myers Pro Handle.
Myers Pro Handle.
And it will be available in travel handle as well.
Myers Pro Handle. And then on the Garrett line also, the ATX Pulse is being discontinued also. And they'll still support them and work on them for years to come, but they're going to eventually phase those out rather soon. And what else? Go ahead.
Well, I'm waiting for Steve Moore to get back with me about getting him booked.
Okay, cool. He'll probably have some news on that stuff too. And then I wanted to remind folks that if they're in the Tampa Bay area, Terry Shannon and Fred Bank are going to be on the speaking at the Westgate Club this month, and I think that's I think it's February the 20th.
The 20th, yep.
That's a Tuesday night, so that's when that is. And then I believe this weekend, speaking about bottle diggers, the Tampa, or actually the St. Petersburg Antique Bottle Collectors Club is having their tabletop show this weekend at the Sons of Italy Hall. So you can look that up. Just Google St. Pete Antique Bottle Collectors Club. And you'll see a lot of finds, a lot of dug bottles, a lot of cool tabletop stuff that like Tom digs at Beneath the Plains. So it's pretty impressive. I like going to those shows. And before I guess we get moving, I just wanted to say, Uncle Beep, your Myers Treasure Talk towel is in the mail if you haven't got it already.
So as Hannibal Lecter said, you coveted it.
It's there.
Coveted.
It's coming, and it was probably me, but I'm gonna blame it on Big Poppy for not putting it in the box. He's gonna really love me for that, but whenever something goes wrong, it's Big Poppy's fault.
Well, most of the time, yes. So I might as well go ahead. Now we're talking, you guys at the WSAF Club are going to get to see Fred and Terry next Tuesday night. So if you're not a member of that club, you definitely need to join if you're in the Tampa Bay area. It'd be well worth it. But you will see them here on Monday night, the 19th, because we got a special show for you. Terry and Fred are going to join us, and we're going to be live from the Mel Fisher Museum in Sebastian, Florida. And the owner, Nicole, will be giving you a little bit of a peek around, and it should be a really good show. So we'll be live from the Mel Fisher Museum in Sebastian, Florida. Terry and Fred and Nicole, and it's going to be a really good show. So you make sure you're here.
Yeah, that's going to be an awesome show because they're going to see some shipwreck artifacts, I'm sure. And those two guys are excellent beach hunters and have a lot of wisdom to share, and they're always happy to do so.
And that is Mel Fisher's granddaughter, by the way.
Yes, a treasure hunting family. So I guess I better get done on our housekeeping so we can get started.
Yep.
Okay, today's show is brought to you by your friends at Myers Metal Detectors, where we sell fun and adventure. And of course, the views, thoughts, and opinions expressed here by the Treasure Talk guest and member belong solely to the guest and member, and not necessarily to Phil Myers, Jocelyn Myers, Myers Metal Detectors, or Jeff Monin. That's a lot. And of course, the purpose of Treasure Talk is to promote the hobby of treasure hunting in all forms, metal detecting included, and to educate our members in a fun, informative manner. And
yes, indeed we are.
That's what we're going to do tonight.
And the reason I'm laughing, when you said you were blaming it on Big Poppy, and I said most of the time, he just goes, whatever.
And folks, I got my red Solo cup, but it's filled with water. Nothing else.
I don't have a red Solo cup. I've got a cup, but it's filled with iced tea.
And that's in remembrance of Toby Keith. Rest in peace.
That's right. And he lives by the same thing I do. Don't let the old man in.
Don't let the old man in.
In the morning, just don't let the old man in.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Now, we better get after it, hadn't we?
We better, for sure.
So we've got a young man with us tonight who's extremely talented in this field that he enjoys very much success in, which is bottle digging and dump digging, privy digging, that type of thing. He's got a tremendously interesting YouTube channel called Below the Plane. You've seen him before, and he's back by popular demand. Let's bring him on. Below the Plane, Tom Astrom. Here we go. Hey, Tom.
Welcome,
Hey.
Tom. So you gotta tell the folks where you're at and the temperature it is right now.
I'm outside of Buxton, North Dakota. It's about 20 degrees.
I'm here in Tampa, and it's about 78 degrees in this room, and because my wife won't let me lower the air anymore, and I'm sweating a little bit.
Well, you know what you could do? You could get up and you could stumble and knock a window out, and at least you get some breeze in.
Yes, for sure. Just open the back door. But yeah, that's cold for us. So is the ground frozen there?
Frozen solid. We have had a mild winter, but I'm not expecting the ground to be thawed until April.
So that means in your area, you're not bottle digging then.
Not at all. I've done a bit of traveling. Was thinking about going to Kansas. I spoke with a guy down there, and he said the ground should be thawed out. They've got a lot of rain as well, which should help because the last couple of times I've been down there, it was rock hard. It was dry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'll help you dig because if it's rock hard like that, I imagine it's tough to dig. And when you're digging and it's that hard, is it harder to recover the bottles? Do you break more?
It's a nightmare just locating the pits because I'll have to use a hammer drill to make a pilot hole for the probe rod.
Oh,
And
geez.
sometimes the only place the rod will go through the ground is a pit. When it's that hard packed, I'll have to drill through the pack into the use layer, the undigested seeds from the outhouse pit, or the ash layer before it'll get soft enough to probe. And yeah, I've been down to Kansas a couple times. I think the best time will be maybe this time of year up to late spring. The summers down there are usually brutal, hard packed digging.
Yeah, I can imagine. So it looks like you got a question already, Jeff, huh?
Yep.
Yeah,
Can you
Ricky. Yeah, I can see it. Ricky T's asking, how far down is the ground frozen?
Well, this year is probably not as bad as it usually is, but I've seen frost 3 feet down. And that was mid-May. Actually, it was in the backyard of a residence that was in Grand Forks, North Dakota. Yeah, 3 feet. So it's usually mid-May, maybe even late May before we can dig up here on average.
Now, your fort site you were digging, was that the one I was talking to you earlier about? Was that your last video you put up?
That was kind of encampment area. It's actually a work in progress. I'm not supposed to get into too many details on it, but there's going to be a lot of information coming to light from that site.
Okay. But you got permission to be on there and you're digging it. How deep will that pit be? Is it you're not through it all the way, or have you finished that pit?
Yeah, we finished it. We dug it actually in part with a backhoe. It was a monumental situation. So we were out in this farm field and had an idea where all the activity took place. Some guys had metal detected out there, and we spent days and days gritting this thing out, trying to find a sign of anything. We found a couple ash dumps, some trash dumps, hardly anything in them, maybe some 4570 casings, a few bottles. We were about to give up. The weather was getting nasty. There's a snowstorm on the way. So I decided to walk out back maybe 100 feet past where we had gridded everything out. The guy I was with, he was getting ready to call it quits. You know, the weather was coming in, and he was actually starting to get a bit of an attitude. And when he saw me walking around probing again, he said, "We need to get going. We need to finish up." And I said, "Just give me a minute." I noticed some glass on the ground, and I probed it out. Hit some gravel, maybe 3 feet down, and I thought this is different. I know that gravel isn't natural in that part of the country, from what I've gathered. I thought maybe it could be some kind of anomaly, but decided we should probably dig it. So I tell my buddy, I think I found it, and at this point he's a little pissed off, and he says, we gridded that thing out for days. You think you're going to walk out here right now and find it in one hit? I said, Try it. Just try it. He probes it, and he said, "We're taking 3 scoops and then we're leaving." So on third scoop, we got this big chunk of just night soil, undigested seeds, a beer bottle, some lime, a bunch of lime layers, and you know, I'm not an "I told you so" type of person, so I said, "So what's the plan now?" And
in trouble with
said,
this.
"Well, looks like we're digging," and we got a lot out of there, maybe
My
over
mouse is
50 artifacts dating back to the 1880s. A lot of beer bottles, a lot of beer bottles.
Yeah, I saw those, and we always called those ginger beer bottles. But I found a few of those in the Tampa area, which was Fort Brooke in the 1820s to 1870s.
Yeah, it's the 1870s, 60s, 70s era that we had pulled those up out of. Those date back that far anyway. And you know what? There's actually a specific name for those. A guy had messaged me here. I'm going to pull the message up. And I know a guy over in Australia. He collects European glass, and he watches my channel. So whenever I misidentify something or I don't have all the information, he'll correct me.
You. It's nice to have somebody like that.
Yeah. And you know, you mentioned that ginger beer.
You're gonna get in trouble, Phil.
What? To have somebody correct you?
No, you know, you're gonna get in trouble. That's all I can say.
Oh goodness. Oh, Josh, are you okay with my computer?
The mouse is no good.
My mouse is no good. Oh goodness.
Maybe just needs a battery.
Yeah.
So we have a question from Ricky T. He says, do you metal detect an area like that?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Oh, has the area been metal detected?
Do you metal detect an area like that as well as dig it?
I get asked that a lot. I actually don't own a metal detector. I used to. I think it was my 18th birthday. I actually got a metal detector. You know, I had a beginner level machine before that. And when I was a kid, I'd go detect on the beach, find some coins on the playground. I remember a Mountain Dew cap with the hillbilly on it once. That I thought that was really cool, but I never really had any big score with it. I think I did find a ring on a playground once, but you know, I just got into the bottle digging thing, and I've said if they invented a glass detector, I'd be the first person to own it. But
hadn't done that yet, I don't think.
No.
Right, and we've had folks with metal detectors follow us around, and I'll see the coins we find in these pits. They're in cull condition. They're in a really rough shape, sometimes illegible, sometimes hard to tell even what type of coin it is. I think a lot of that's because of the depth we're digging in. The groundwater, being it's in an outhouse pit, the acids from the urine over the years kind of destroys them. But you know, yeah, as far as just metal detecting the site, we never did. We've had folks metal detected. It's been metal detected, heavily metal detected. I'm sure there's still stuff out there, but
yeah, you never find it all for sure.
We barely had enough time to dig the pits, and I guess that's my primary focus. So I never really got into detecting all the way.
Okay. Well, we got a bunch of questions come through. This one here from Moose in New York, he's asking, what do you do with your finds? And he's sell them? Question mark.
Oh yeah, you know, it's different every time. We'll sometimes I'll keep a piece. At this point, though, I've dug over 1,700 pits, and it's rare that I find something that really gets me going, something that I'd put in my collection or something along those lines. So I will keep a piece every once in a while if it's maybe a holy grail or something. But otherwise, lots left with the property owner. Sometimes the folks I dig with, they'll be interested in something, and sometimes the pieces will go to museums, or if no one wants them, you know, we'll find sometimes the same type of bottle over and over. You know, hundreds of them or thousands of them probably over the years, like the Eagle flasks, the Eagle style flasks, I guess I should say. And Mikado style flasks, even the shoe fly coffin whiskeys. I just find piles of those things, and uh, if someone wants them, we'll gladly let them have it. Otherwise, we just kind of put them back in the bottom of the pit, and maybe someone will find them someday and be more excited about them than we are.
Yeah, how about the
Oh,
Lee
yeah.
and Perrins bottles? You find a
Those-
bunch of them?
Yeah, those are fun to find. The English ones, they're a little different, a little more crude than the
Mhm.
American-made ones. I don't know exactly what year Lee and Perrins started producing bottles in the U.S., but I know in the 1870s, maybe into the 80s, they had them produced and sold out of Europe, England, I believe. And yeah, it's just fun to find the crude style bottles, the earlier stuff.
Yeah. Hey, looks like we got a question from Bill Crow. He says, "Do you have the beer bottle to show?"
I don't.
Okay,
I don't
no worries.
in here. I've got I think, yeah, one of the only bottles in my room is a soda bottle from Litchfield, Minnesota. It's a rare one. If you guys want to see that, I can grab it. It's on the
Sure.
shelf.
Yeah, let us see it. And
All right.
then also they had asked if you can hear me. How long is your bottle digging probe?
Ah, well, I've got a 4-footer and a 7.5-footer. The 4-footer is like your workhorse. That one will be the one I use, just kind of gritting these areas out. If I hit a spot that seems suspect, say I bottom the rod out into something unusual, then I'll take the 7.5-footer and use the 4-foot 4-foot hole as a pilot hole for the long one, and then see if there's anything down below. Here's the Litchfield, Minnesota soda bottle. It's maybe difficult to read, but it's Rodange and Rees. There's a museum that was bugging me to find one for them, and I was thinking about selling them this one, but then I couldn't find their email address. My inbox, my email, it's just been flooded with questions and all kinds of stuff I try to answer, and that's why it took so long getting back to you guys.
Did you say?
I just try to keep up with it all, but I was on the road. I was in Des Moines giving a presentation at the Red Wing Collectors Society winter gathering. There's hundreds of folks that showed up there, prepared a bit for it, and it was somewhat of a disaster. At first, the projector stopped working. It was the link between the system and the projector. I'm not much of a technical guy or tech guy, but so it started out a little rocky, but they figured out what was up maybe halfway through. It was an hour-and-a-half presentation, and yeah, as I got back from that a few days ago now, and I've just been hanging out, gonna get some work done on some books, I suppose.
And
Okay.
there's always gremlins in the
Don't we
equipment.
know? Don't we know, Jeff?
Sometimes, you know.
Oh, you could start cussing about it. So you mentioned Red Wing. So have you dug any Red Wing pottery?
A lot. Most of it's broken. I'll find like whole crocks, sometimes down wells. I figure maybe they were lowering it in to fill it up and it fell in. I will find an intact crock every once in a while down an outhouse pit, but it's rare. Usually
Yeah.
there's some kind of damage to it, and I'll sometimes try to find all the pieces and piece them back together. It's like a fun little puzzle of some sort, and it's frustrating though when I nearly finish it and I don't have all the pieces. And you can always get some putty or modeling clay, whatever, and just kind of fill in the broken pieces and paint it. But it's nice when they're all there.
Well, Tom, now don't you have to be somewhat careful when you are probing?
Oh yeah.
I mean, you just don't ram it, as hard as you can into the ground, do you?
No. After a while, you learn what to feel for. Sometimes the pits were capped off with clay, hard packed clay. So sometimes I'll hit a really hard packed layer, and then I just kind of really easily just kind of push the rod through so that it doesn't jam into something.
Item
Uh,
is found in the old.
yeah, there's like anything, there's always some rate of casualty, but it's it's been minimal as compared to when I first started. You know, when I was a kid with like a gardening shovel and all that.
You were just going 100 miles an hour then. But like you said, as you get a little bit of experience, then, you know, after you've probably ruined a couple of really good finds by ramming jamming, you kind of learn patience is the key then.
You know, I think the worst mistake I ever made digging was a few years ago now, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, was in Yankton, South Dakota. I was digging behind this 1870s house. Could even have been 1860s actually, based on some of the stuff we found. But we had dug just kind of a bust pit right next to this area we were opening up, and well, there was it was a well actually. The other pit we dug, and I figured that thing was probably 30 plus feet deep. There was just ashes in it. I would have dug it to bottom if it had started producing, but it had been filled in a little later, and everything was a bit newer than our focus range. So I was digging kind of next to it, and well, I was down maybe a foot at best. I thought I had hit like a chunk of cement or something. I know that well had a pipe going through it, and I thought maybe it was you know, there was cement in connection with the well. So I decided to just pry it up. Well, as soon as I pried it up, there was some stoneware fragments that came out, and even then I wasn't too concerned. As I mentioned, almost all the stoneware is broken. So I started digging this thing out, and I start seeing this cobalt stenciling on it. And I'm thinking, okay, this isn't good, but it's probably broken. So, you know, it was probably broken before I damaged it further. Dug it out. This thing only had a couple hairline cracks on it. I had pried the front top part off of it, broke it. And, you know, to this day, I still cringe thinking about it. That thing was like 1860s. It was from Sergeant Bluff, Iowa. It was a holy grail, an absolute holy grail piece, probably worth thousands before I more or less destroyed it. But I ended up, I think I still got like $500 for it. And the guy who bought it had it professionally restored, so you can't even tell there was any damage done to it. And
Nice.
you know, that was a dark day.
For
There wasn't anything else really good in the pit either, which made it even worse. But
Well, it hurt us a little more.
We live and learn for sure.
we live and learn.
Yes. And Tom Becker has a question. What's the biggest item you found, and what's the oldest item you found?
Okay, the biggest item I found could have been well, I said that's kind of a tough question. I was walking through a dump once and found a 20-gallon crock, a 20-gallon Red Wing crock sticking out of the hillside. It was just partially buried, and there was like a roll of old baling wire, laying next to it, and I kind of got it loose and rolled it. I was with my dad at the time. I was a kid, and he was telling me, you don't want this thing. It was hot out. There was mosquitoes. And I said, we need to bring this thing back to the car. We need this. So we got it back to the car, and well, that was a 20-gallon crock, but that wasn't completely buried. Maybe the biggest piece I've completely pulled out of the ground was maybe a 3-gallon jug, maybe a 3-gallon crock, something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's cool. Well, this one is from Surf and Turf. In the Midwest, I've been told outhouses were by lilac bushes. I live on an old farm site with a depression in the ground pretty much next to them. How far down to probe?
I've heard that lilac story so many times.
True or not true?
It's nearly haunting me at this point. That question. It's sometimes true, but I'd say, I don't know, maybe less than 50% of the time they'll be next to the lilac bush. Maybe closer to like 10 or 20% of the time. Just not, it's not common. And if it is next to a lilac bush, I've found that they're often newer. That's why the bush, why it's still alive. Maybe the original one would have been long gone, but it's rare. I've dug I've dug over 1,700 pits, and only a handful of times it's been next to the lilac bush. I'm not saying it can't be or it won't be. I've just found it's rare. And also, you have to grid the whole lot out before you find out what's there. There could be even if you find the oldest pit, say the house was built in 1890, and you find an 1890 pit, and think, oh, I've got it all. There could have been a house there before that would have some really good stuff in it. So, until you grid that entire yard out and probe all of it, you don't want to focus on any specific area like a lilac bush. Keep in mind it could be there, but I wouldn't focus on it too much. Take it all with a grain of salt.
How far down should they probe in that depression, would you say?
Yeah, well, I have that 4 foot, maybe 4.5 foot rod, and I'll try to bottom the thing out. A pit will usually start maybe a couple feet down, but there have been times where just the end of it broke into an ash layer, and that's where that long rod would come in to confirm.
Yeah, but he could get a good idea with a 4-footer if he had it, whether he wanted to go further, then couldn't he?
Exactly.
Okay, cool. We have one here from Scott Beck. He says we have a farm in Hazen, North Dakota. I don't know if you know where that's at. He said you need to check it out.
Yep, Hazen. I've heard of the place, and I don't think I've been out that way digging. I've never dug in Hazen, maybe in that part of the state, but yeah, I'm interested in checking out all kinds of things. Generally, anything pre-1900 is of most interest. Just being it has that kind of site has better odds of there being multiple pits, or the family was better established, so that
I got that.
They had time to have more trash to discard and all that.
Hey, Tom, I got a couple questions here, and I'm going to add to this one. This one's from Ricky T, and he's asking why there would be an ash layer in the privy pit, and why did they put the lime in the pit also?
Stink.
Yeah, well, the ashes, they're from stoves. Usually it's coal ash. Sometimes the earlier pits have wood ash. I was told the ash neutralized the smell, along with the pit just being a convenient dumping place. That's why a lot of the stuff ended up in there. The lime was to disinfect and neutralize the smell. So I'll get those lime layers, ash layers, wood ash, coal ash. And I found it. So those stout bottles that you mentioned, you always thought were ginger beer bottles. My digging partner thought the same thing, and I always thought of them as some kind of English beer or ale. They're actually an English stout bottle.
Yeah,
So,
I guess like a Guinness stout or something, an early one. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I see it. Go ahead, Jeff.
I would, he's talking about the lime. You got to be pretty careful about getting the lime on your arms and stuff. That stuff will burn you pretty good, won't it? Do you wear a mask when you get into the lime?
I've heard that many times, and I've been down in these wet pits, had lime on me, and I maybe just got lucky or wasn't in it long enough for it to affect me, but I've never had any burns from lime. I did get into poison ivy once, or some kind of something my skin didn't agree with. That was bad.
Yeah, that would be bad. While we can take a second here, we're going to do a giveaway of a coveted Myers swag pack, and guess what will be in it? Philip, do your best Vanna White.
That towel back there, I'll make sure it's in there.
It's coveted. It's coveted.
Yes, it is. If we forget about
Worldwide.
it, remind us. It happened the last time. So,
Yeah, so
and I blame that
Phil
old
and-
Big Poppy. Yeah, for sure.
Yep. Phil and Big Poppy will put together a swag pack. And if you say hello to Big Poppy and treat him nicely, you never know.
You
There
might
could
get
be
a
a
sausage.
Zazich.
Yes.
You just don't know, do you, Phil?
You don't know. It's whatever hits him. He'll do
I
some
mean,
artwork
he
on it.
could be in a really good mood and toss
Oh,
a
yeah.
Zazich in there. Anyways, the key word to put into the chat, hashtag bottle. So
Hashtag Bob.
do that. We'll give it a few minutes and then we'll do our drawing.
Yes, and I've got some more questions. You got one, Jaws?
Bill Crow wants to know if you ever found it.
Yeah, that's a very good one. This is from Bill Crow, and he's asking, had a friend in the town that dug privies all the time, or it went too quick for me. It just disappeared. But he was asking if you found a bunch of marbles.
I'll find marbles every once in a while. I had a couple jars, maybe pint-sized jars, full of just different German swirls, some clay marbles, some newer types. I'm not a marble expert, but there were a couple times I found maybe like a little cache of them. One time in particular was in Yankton, South Dakota, and we were in a maybe 1920s, 30s pit, and we got dozens of marbles out of there. Someone must have just some kid must have lost their sock full of marbles down the pit or something, and they just stayed there.
Okay, well, I always find the marbles, and most of them are like early 1900s homes. It must have been real popular for marbles. I always find them detecting, or if they've torn a house down, they're usually everywhere. And Joe, who works for me on Saturdays, aka Big Poppy, he sold my last jar of marbles for $40 when I wasn't looking. So
I tell you what, you come in the shop and Phil turns his back, Big Poppy will sell. He'll sell the counter.
He'll sell everything.
He'll sell it all.
That's his full-time job. He's a wine salesman, Italian wines, but he'll sell everything. He's funny. He wants to sell my detector. He says, "You're not using this. I'm selling it." So
yeah, he will too. Just a quick note to Gwen Fairley: you need to put in hashtag bottle, not
hashtag
bottle.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, I saw in that last video you dug one of these a Mason 1858 patent jars. That's kind of cool. You dig those often?
Yeah, I've dug a lot of them. I've got boxes full of those things. I know some of them can be desirable based on the color or the certain stamp on them, but I've found many of them over the years, and a surprising amount of half-gallon jars. You'd think with the size of them they would have broken easily, but I've got a good few of those.
Yeah, I have one of those 1858 sitting on my counter, and I put pens and different stuff in it. So I just think it's cool to have that. So
yeah.
How are we doing over there, Jeff?
We're doing good. We're just starting to collect the comments.
Okay, cool. So if you want to enter that, hashtag bottle, right, Jeff?
Yep.
Okay.
And let me get things. You guys keep on. I'm just getting everything set up.
Hey, this is from Andrew T. And he said, in England, some of the pop bottles had a marble to seal the inside. They ran in the track. You pushed in the marble. Have you found any of those bottles with it looks like a marble inside of it?
Those are a cod bottle. It's a cod patent, and they actually still sell those today at like novelty candy shops, soda shops, and I've never dug one. See, those were more of an English kind of European thing, and they had to push the stopper down to open it. There's very few companies in the U.S. that use that type of bottle. I know there's one I remember seeing from Omaha, Nebraska, or maybe it just said Omaha on it, but that wasn't confirmed to be from Omaha. I know sometimes those companies would have coined the East or the Western names because the whole Wild West thing was kind of trending back then. So they'd use names that you'd see out West as kind of a business tactic. But I know I think Texas has one of those cod bottles. I think I saw one from Galveston, Texas, and there was another one from Iowa. I'm sure there's a few from out east as well.
Yeah, they're cool. I've seen those dug before. I've never dug one, but they're pretty cool. How about Hutch bottles? Do you dig many of those?
Well, I dig them, but they're not as common in this part of the country. I think there's a couple factors involved. The climate. See, soda bottling was kind of a summer business, and we don't have as much summer up here. So I think a combination of that and the population, the area was just getting settled around the time the Hutchinson bottles were big. So I don't think a lot of companies had the time to expand to make all these bottles. And I find them though every once in a while in say a residential pit. I could dig maybe 100 residential privies, and I'll get maybe 5 Hutchinson soda bottles. But I could dig like a hotel pit or a site with a saloon that had a saloon running connection with it, and I'd have a chance of finding one maybe 1 in 5 pits or something. I'll get a hutch or multiple hutches.
Okay, cool. Hey,
You
John,
ready to do this, Philip?
are we ready to do the?
Whenever you're ready.
Yeah, let me just ask one more question. John
Okay.
Davis asking how he grids. How do you grid your property?
Well, I use driveway markers to show the area I've covered and to keep me in line so I don't miss anything. What I do is I think they're just like 4-foot tall driveway markers. You can get them at like a home improvement store. And well, I set them out about 4 feet apart, so about the width of one of those markers, and then maybe 20 paces. I just go 20 paces usually. It just keeps it uniform, and so I set them 20 paces long and then about 4 feet wide, and then I'll probe between each pole, maybe once down the center, and then I put another pole in, and then I just keep moving them over as I go. And it's a process of elimination type thing. They had to have an outhouse pit, so it's just where is it? And every time you probe, it's you're closer to finding it if you keep track of where you were probing. So that's where the grid comes out, and it's good for me anyway. I've noticed it helps having a visual of the area that's been covered. So maybe you think, oh, it's got to be in this area, and then you just kind of step back and look, and then once that area is kind of voided out, you can kind of look at other areas and think, oh, that area looks suspect over there, and eventually you'll find it if there's not a garage or something over it.
Okay, cool.
Cool.
Well, Jeff, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's pick a winner.
Okay, let's do this. Okay, bing, bang, boom. And around and around and around we go.
That is so cool.
So cool.
And we are Richard Pelkey.
Richard Pelkey is the winner.
Yes, he is.
Well, Jeff, tell him what he's
is
got
the
to
winner.
do.
So, Richard, what you need to do is, let me put it up here. You need to send your name, address, and phone number
Found
to treasuretalkshow@gmail.com, and we'll get Big Poppy on it, and you get your coveted towel, a calendar, and possibly your tzatziki and some other stuff, whatever.
Whatever we can throw in there for sure.
See, and it all depends on if Phil turns his back. You just don't know what Big
Never
Poppy
know what
is
you're
gonna
gonna
put in
get.
the box.
That's true. And
You
somebody,
never know.
you don't. Oh, here it is. I found it. Gwen Farley's asking, have you ever found old seltzer bottles?
Seltzers. I found a couple broken ones when I dug the Cement City Bottling Works lot in Yankton, South Dakota. We actually had an excavator out there, and nearly everything we found out there was damaged. Not from the excavator, just the bottles were either intentionally broken, so folks couldn't return them for the deposit later, or they were damaged at one point, so they couldn't reuse them. But we got 2 seltzer bottles. Both were damaged. I think one was from Fred Schnauber's Bottling Works in Yankton, and the other one was from it might have been the Binder Bottling Works, if I remember correctly.
Well, cool. Hey, this is a really good question from Bob Kulik. He's asking your most treasured bottle in your collection.
I actually just picked it up. I mentioned that presentation I gave in Des Moines. Well, a couple months before that, I got the lead of this old time digger from the cities. He lived, I think, near St. Paul. He dug in St. Paul back in the day, and he had this cobalt blue soda bottle from Levi R. Comstock's Bottling Works of St. Paul, Minnesota territory. This guy only bottled from, I think, 1854 to 1857. And while I'd been hunting one of these down for years, I actually sold most of my collection to fund the traveling and some of these books I've been printing, working on. Had to travel to photograph some collections. So I've been using the funds from the collection for that. And just lately I've been able to spend a little extra. The YouTube channel's been going well, and I've got all my bills paid. So, well, I got this lead on this bottle, and at first I was thinking it sounded like a scam or something. These are expensive bottles, and this guy said he had one for $5,000, and which I thought was low. I thought that was like a bait price, and so I took it with a grain of salt at first. The guy I was talking with, who knew the guy who supposedly had this bottle, this cobalt blue soda bottle, told me that he bought this rare Litchfield soda bottle from him and sent me a picture of it. Now, I wasn't aware that a third example existed. So I knew there was some legitimacy to it, and I still hadn't seen pictures of these bottles though. So I asked if I could get the guy's phone number, and the guy was a little hesitant to give it to me. It sounded like he wanted to buy these, but they were a little out of his, I guess, price range right now. So I ended up getting this guy's phone number, and I called it, and his wife answered, and sounded like, kind of an older couple with a landline phone. And then, she said, Dave, this guy wants to talk to you. So I talked to them, and, I realized quickly it was legitimate. He had dug these. And so a couple of months had actually gone by. I was saving up to buy these from him. And
Somebody wants the name of his books.
oh yeah,
On your books, Tom, you said you had some books that you've written. How many have you written? Where are they available? And the titles.
I've written 2 books, completed 2 books. One was the first one was Nebraska Soda Bottles, 1865 to 1930. The second one was North Dakota Soda Bottles, or A History of North Dakota Bottling Operations, 1879 to 1930. And both books are sold out. I had 100 copies printed of each, and they've both been sold out now for over a year, maybe a couple years actually. But I've got a list of folks interested, and I could probably sell over 100 books right now if I just had a print run. But I need to add some information, and I've been so busy with this YouTube channel, traveling, and all these other book projects. I haven't had a chance to, but this winter I'm hoping to get at least, I'm working on 2 major publications right now. One is my excavations at Fort Pembina, and the other one is Glass Icons of the American Frontier. It covers all the earliest, most desirable bottles sold by companies west of the Mississippi. A couple go just beyond that to the east, but a lot of the Holy Grail pieces, I'm going to have prices, values of each piece based on previous auction results, desirability. I'll have the numbers known of each bottle, and I've been networking with these collectors all across the country. So it's going to be a major publication. I'm hoping to have one of the 2 done before the digging season starts here. And
that would be something you might want to stock in the shop, wouldn't it, Phil?
It might be. When is your digging season start?
Well, I mentioned Kansas. It could be a possibility here in a couple weeks, but I might just hold off for another month or so before I go travel again, or at least until I get this book finished. The Pembina book probably first, and then that Glass Icons book after that. But I'd like to get one of them finished in print, just so I can get a few of them moving and maybe cover some of the travel costs and all that.
Yeah. Now, where do you have it printed? Is it like an Amazon thing, or?
I go through Gorham Printing in Centralia, Washington.
Oh,
So
okay.
when I was shopping around for that Nebraska book, my first book, I had called so many places, contacted, emailed all these printing places, and some of the prices I was getting were ridiculous. Some of them wanted as much as I was going to, I thought would be the maximum price I could charge for a book. And I know, the print on demand is a bit more expensive, but I finally found this place, in Centralia, Washington, and they gave me by far the best price. I mean, I'd say probably half of what anyone else had. And the quality of the book quality is great. There's been no issues with the binding. Everything was top notch. So I'll be going through them again.
Cool. This young man, Ray Brock, he said he just found a small brown bottle, about 3 inches tall, 3/4 of an inch wide, with a small cork hole. Would you think that would be a medicine bottle of some sort, or?
Could be, it sounds like some kind of chemical bottle. Could have been like a peroxide, or definitely some kind of chemical, pharmaceutical, possibly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you find bottles with like pharmaceutical bottles, chemical bottles that still have stuff in them?
Oh yeah. Always got to be careful dumping those things out. Best case scenario, you'll smell something terrible. Worst case scenario, it could be something nasty in there. I've never experienced anything negative from dumping them out. I've got a lot of oils and stuff on my hands over the years from the bottles, and maybe I've gotten lucky. I've gotten more cautious though recently. I'll wear rubber gloves when I'm cleaning them out, and I'll make sure to clean them out outside. There could be, they had medicines back in the day, chloroform. There was also poisons. And even if, you say you dig a medicine bottle, it doesn't necessarily mean there's still medicine in it. They could have,
right,
whatever in there. I know strychnine was a popular poison back in the day, arsenic. So you got to be careful. I once dug a bottle. It had a glass stopper in it, and I think it was cobalt blue. It was a really pretty looking bottle, and that glass on glass it creates an incredible seal. Sometimes the stoppers will even get stuck in the bottles. A little off subject, but I was digging Fort Pembina, and when I dug the fort's hospital, I was finding all these bottle tops with the stoppers in them, and the rest of the bottle is broken off. I figured the stoppers were stuck so hard that they had to break the top off to get the contents out. But this one wasn't stuck, this blue one I dug, and I dumped it out, and it was this really rank, rotten egg smell, and just hitting the dirt, that liquid started foaming and sizzling, and must have been some kind of just wicked acid of some sort. So be careful dumping those things out.
I would think so, yeah.
Yeah, and I guess you get a lot of groundwater in some of them too, I imagine.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of the time we'll find them with groundwater, and you just never know though, unless it's a different color, I suppose. But
better to be cautious.
Yes. And I see you got that one, Jeff, from Ricky T. Do you ever walk the creeks looking for bottle dumps?
I used to. That was before I got into privy digging. I generally stay away from dumps. Just a lot of the stuff is broken. It's mixed up. I've dug plenty of dumps. I've brought excavators into them. But what's nice about a privy dig is that everything's kind of in order as far as age goes. It's going to get earlier as it goes down. The oldest stuff's going to be at bottom. And as I mentioned, they had to have an outhouse from the start. So if you want to find the earliest trash deposits from that property, the outhouse is definitely the way to go.
Well, let's just give these people that maybe want to get into bottle digging, maybe like a bottle or privy digging 101, what some of the equipment you need, some of the protective gear that you suggest.
Yeah, I've got like a small arsenal of digging equipment right now, and for the beginner, I'd recommend that 4-foot Pro Rod, a 7.5-foot, a shovel. I guess those would be the essentials, like the bare bones. But if you get into a deep pit, you'll want some buckets, so you can start throwing dirt, lifting buckets up. It saves a lot of time. If you get into a good pit, you don't want to break anything, so I use a plastic feed scoop when I get down into the loose soil, and a trowel can be helpful, so you don't you're not as likely to damage something with that as you would with, say, a shovel. But I also use a potato fork with the 2 tines cut off the end, and that helps me get through some rough soil. But towards the end of last year, I started using a root slayer shovel, and they're not sponsoring me or anything, so I haven't been showing it in a lot of my videos, but it works great, a root slayer. Otherwise, you'll want some rope for the buckets if you get really deep. If you have hard packed soil, I mentioned a hammer drill with a thin bit for the grass, and then a wider bit, maybe like a 5/8 inch for gravel, so you can keep a hole open, pilot hole to probe. Tarps, one trick of the trade. So you could go to the home improvement store and buy a regular tarp, or what I've been doing is using old trampoline bottoms. Those things are so dirty. I'll go buy a tarp from a hardware store when I say my trampoline bottoms are full of the top, and then I'll have that tarp torn at the end of the day. But these trampoline bottoms, they're so durable. I actually used one off the old trampoline I had when I was a kid, and I probably got more use of it as a digging tarp, so I did jumping on the trampoline, and it lasted me years. I dug hundreds of pits using that tarp, and it wasn't until we had a loader tractor out there that the tarp got torn. A guy was pushing the slop in off the trampoline bottom tarp, and the bucket caught and tore it. So we gave it a proper burial and all that.
Well, that's cool.
Guess what time it is?
Oh, yes, it's that time already. But real quick, before we get rolling here, I did see in your video a lot of time for digging the bottles out, you're using a trowel.
Yeah, I was using a stick. That is just what I adapted to when I was a kid. I'd be out digging at these abandoned farmyards or something, and there'd be a stick I'd break off, from a tree or something, just use that. And then I started using broom handles. I noticed some really thin wood broom handles would work well, but I just finally gave in, and you see all these archaeologists digging with a trowel, and I decided to try it out. It was actually a guy down in Kansas. He had borrowed some equipment from an archaeologist friend of his, and he had a trowel. I tried out, and it's no looking back. That's the way to go.
Yeah, it looked like it works very good for that. Well, our hour is gone, so thank you, Tom. Thank you, Jocelyn, and thank you, Jeff. I just want to remind the folks that just call me before you come to the shop the next day or two, because you're not going to get in there now with the tent on it. So just remember that. You can still call me. I've got my number, 813-237-19, and we'll get you taken care of. But thank you for coming on here with us, Tom. Appreciate you sharing your bottle digging wisdom.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Tom, we want to thank you. And once you get your books back in print, let us know, because there's a number of people in the chat that would love to buy a book or two.
A bottle book, yes.
And, Phil generally, he's got quite the library in the shop, and bottle digging is part of the treasure experience. So
it surely is.
And so there's a lot of bottle diggers that would really enjoy a book with the pictures and everything. So thanks very much, Tom, for coming and joining us tonight. I hope that you continue to have a very mild winter and all your endeavors be filled with pristine bottles.
Yes.
Sounds good to me.
Unbroken.
Unbroken, pristine bottles. So
Yes.
we thank you for joining us tonight. Phil, thank you. Thank
you.
Jocelyn. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Remember, next week, and share this, pass the word, because we're going to be coming to you live from the Mel Fisher Museum in Sebastian, Florida, and you're going to get to see some of the Atosha and 1715 fleet stuff, plus some other cool stuff that they have. You'll get to meet Mel Fisher's granddaughter, and you'll get to chat with Terry Shannon and Fred Banke, and it's going to be a great time. So make sure that you are here for that. Thanks again, everybody. Philip, I'll talk at you later.
Will do.
And
Thanks again,
thank
Tom.
you, everybody. Happy hunting and dig deeper.
Dig deeper.
God, your mouse is